and welcome everyone to the Circle Debate Podcast Top 5 Picks of the Week here for the year, starting off with the first top 5 in 2022, ladies and gentlemen. This is the host of Devious One I've been seeing here with my other hosts, with my family, Mis Hermanos, the Four Horsemen, the fellow Four Horsemen back together again. That's right. And of course, I have this individual who has 69 reasons of his top 5, and that is Mr. 69 himself, Mr. MGC, Pool Hall Callus, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that. Pool Hall's a good name.
Like my mini pool cue with my little mini.
Hey man, size does not matter.
It's the ocean of emotion, baby. That's
Why
right.
you get it in the hole?
That's right, and that is right because he directs you to that hole, ladies and gentlemen. Because he is the director.
You sound like a porn director.
He is the director.
It is.
Come
on,
Chris Kenny, ladies and gentlemen. I love
I'm like
director.
Val Venus's best manager.
And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I have the man who lives 1,977,000 miles from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, because he is the undisputed, the unmatched, the unrivaled, the undefeated, and the uncensored money, by God, of podcasting, Mike Lopez, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, man. It's been a while since all four of us have been on the same one. So, pretty cool stuff there.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, today's top 5, starting off with 2022, we are doing top 5 European wrestlers. God, you got to give that credit to the director, man. That's good shit with that British Bulldog, man. You cannot go wrong with that.
That took me a whole 14 seconds to make, man. I really grinded my ass off on that one.
Absolutely. All right, so now we got to go to the wheel to see who goes first of giving their top 5 European wrestlers. Obviously, we're speaking from around Europe, from the past to the present, could be even as well.
And the future.
And
future of Europe.
Future upcoming talents as well in Europe as well. So let me go ahead and direct you to my screen for the wheel to see who goes first. Here we go. All right. Spin that wheel.
go.
Wheel. Oh, the director.
All right. Cool.
Let me break the rack first.
Looks like the director goes first. Take it away, director.
All right. I'm going to start this off by saying Europe is a huge country. So there are so many wrestlers to pick from.
Continent.
I mean, you could go from East Europe to North Europe to the dangerous Central Europe, and as far back as 50 to 30 years. So there's a lot of European heroes to pick from, and iconic is definitely something I want to include. Someone who set the standard for their time and for future wrestlers from the area. So that makes sense that at number 5, I would pick someone who is not only strong, but also fast, very charismatic, great return, carried the company through the pandemic. And I have to go with the Scottish Psychopath, Drew McIntyre. An all-around entertaining wrestler. Maybe not on a lot of people's lists because he still is in the prime of his career. He had a really lackluster end to his first run in the WWE with the 3-man band situation. Kind of left a bad taste in people's mouths. So when he came back to NXT, he had a fire to prove that he was a force to be reckoned with. I think he did that. He took the Thunderdome over. I mean, that was his venue. He was running shit, and a great entertaining wrestler, great on the mic, great in the ring. Fast as shit. I love the Claymore. That is a wild finisher for a guy that's 6'9", hitting out of nowhere, And we'll see if we check back on this list in 10 years, he might be higher up. That's definitely for sure. Number 4 did a very similar thing during the Next Generation era. He was the epitome of European good guy, and he's the man standing right there with Matilda, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. Mm-hmm. Part of the Hart Foundation. Very easy to recognize, even if you were a casual wrestler growing up. If you were born in the 80s or 90s, or if you were like Anthony from Titantron, you went back in time and caught up on pro wrestling. Davey Boy Smith was an awesome wrestler. He was also a strong man that was fast, very charismatic on the mic. I love the running power slam. numerous tag titles, numerous singles titles. Eventually had a pretty decent heel turn towards the end of his career there in the mid 90s. And again, 10 years from now, I mean, he doesn't have much left to prove, but he could be higher on the list. The first European wrestler I was exposed to as a child, that's for damn sure.
Definitely.
Number 3 and number 2 could be very interchangeable. They're practically the same style wrestler, very strong, hard style wrestler. Number 3 and number 2 even have a story where they got into an unintentional, very friendly shoot fight, I believe in WCW, where they were like, oh, he hit me really hard, let me just hit him back. And I think they had a blast, just blasting each other in the face. Number 3 is absolutely Fit Finlay.
Ooh, good choice. I love that. Hell yeah.
That guy didn't get a lot of storytelling in WCW because he was already a little bit older, wasn't really great on the mic, or maybe he wasn't giving enough mic time. But a real tactician, a power tactician. He did the tombstone pile driver. He would stiff guys who deserved it. Went on to do great things in the WWE. He had a better career, I would say, during the Ruthless Aggression. I know he had some angles with Hornswoggle, the Shillelagh. He was eventually, I believe, a coach at the Performance Center, or at least a talent scout in some capacity, helped younger talent find their ways into the NXT roster, and just a staple of European wrestling for sure. Number 2, I could say everything I just said about Mr. Finlay, about Mr. William Regal.
Oh, that's right.
He's a man's man, but we don't talk about that.
Man.
We don't talk about that gimmick. I know him as Lord Steven Regal, as a very European lord, a very snobby character over in WCW. Not a high flyer, not part of the NWO, so he kind of got buried in the mix a little bit and didn't really reach his full popularity until he got over into the main roster in WWE. Then obviously we know what he did for NXT. The greatest, I mean, one of the only, besides I think Dusty Rhodes was before him, before his passing, took over the general managership of NXT. Great face of the company over here in the States, represented European wrestling and training. Very submission heavy. I love the stretch, the real stretch. That was a crazy finisher.
Hell yeah.
Can't believe they cut him. We talked about it last week, the politics behind it. I hope he goes somewhere he's more appreciated, for damn sure.
Well,
number 1.
Ooh.
The Jimi Hendrix of European wrestling. The first flyer, the first power guy, one of the first Europeans to head over in Japan during the early 80s. The other half of the British Bulldogs, Dynamite Kid, is the greatest European wrestler in the history of all time ever. Anybody who ever wanted to get on the top rope has to give him some credit. He was explosive. He was electrifying. He could do everything, whether it was submission, flying, power, good on the mic, just the best. It's not even a second. The gap between him and Regal. It's as good as Regal, and the rest of my list is light years apart. Dynamite Kid will forever be the greatest European wrestler of all time. I've got one honorable mention, and if you sit in his section, you are going to be in the Cesaro section. Yes. The greatest active wrestler no one still talks about is Cesaro. I don't get it. I know Vince said something like he just doesn't like him. He never wants to see him at the top. Very similar to what he said about Christian at the time.
His sharpshooter.
Everything. His giant swing, his sharpshooter, the Gotch special, everything. The Bar with Sheamus, who is another great wrestler who's going to be on this list eventually, is one of my favorite tag teams of all time. The Bar was, they defeated New Day. They stopped the streak. Put them both on the list for all, I don't know what the deal is with Cesaro. The guy just deserves to be multi-time world champ, and I don't think he's ever touched the big one, So I'm at a loss for words about why Cesaro isn't a much bigger wrestler than he is right now, and that is my list.
That is good shit. I think you beat all of us. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see. But damn, your list is fucking good, and I'm with you with Cesaro. 100% right.
I know I've heard things that Vince doesn't like him for some reason.
Doesn't have the brass ring.
I even heard something like he's too small. Like the dude's like 6'4", 230 and cut like a fucking brick.
What's up with that?
I don't get it. Anybody who knows the inside, I don't know. George McKay, you're the king of conspiracies. If you know something that we don't know, let us know.
There you go. Man, killer fucking list, brother. Let's get back to the wheel to see who's next. Who? Not Goldberg.
So glad he's not in Europe.
I know, right? It's me.
It's DDP, but he's not in this list.
No, he's not on this list. Oh man. All right. It's almost very similar to Chris's, but obviously my order is different. It's just a way, my personal choice of top fives. So I'm gonna go with number 5 here that people don't speak upon very briefly. If you're not familiar with him, go back and watch WCW because this individual is from Germany and he will dance his ass off for you. And that is Alex Wright. Alex Wright, baby. He was an underrated European star and they never gave him his credit where credit's due. The guy was incredible in the ring and he never got his moment to shine.
They turned him into a Nazi. They turned him into Berlin.
Thank you. He's just
Like,
I know. I wonder who was in charge of creating that.
I'm so glad I don't know about that. I'm so glad to be ignorant of it.
go relive. If there's a 5-minute documentary on the
refuse
of Das Wunderkind. Das Wunderkind was a German techno kid. That's who Alex Wright was. That's why we're all dancing.
Yes.
And they turned him into. They fucking gave him like a little Hitler mullet. Hawk and like they put him in like Matrix clothes and he was just a Nazi. He practically came out and was doing Nazi shit.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. You go back and look at
WCW?
WCW. Google it right if you have access. Google it right now and look up
That's
Alex Wright Berlin.
Alex Wright Berlin, yes. Oh my god, man.
But Das Wunderkind was the shit. The club kid was awesome.
Yes, the club, yes, I'm with you that I did enjoy. But the guy's underrated. He should be in the Hall of Fame for that, not for the other part, but that he should be.
God, I'm looking at it right now. They put him with the Wall. Is that who they teamed him up with?
I think.
Yeah, they put him with, they repackaged Reese from the Flock as the Wall.
Yes.
Berlin, the Wall. Yeah.
We gotta do a top 5 WCW worst and best.
God, yeah. Talk about killing a fucking career, man.
Yes.
If they're the Berlin Wall, then they should have an opponent named like 1991 or something.
Like Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan 91 and Gorbachev.
Yeah.
Partner Gorbachev.
But definitely look up Alex Wright highlights. Watch his entrance. The guy can move.
Mm-hmm. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. Number 4. Yes, he was introduced to me how the director said it, and that for me is David Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. Him as a tag team, the British Bulldogs, along with Dynamite Kid, as the director mentioned, was a phenomenal tag team. And then his singles career was awesome at his best. His highlight moment, of course, winning the IC title in England back in '93 versus Bret Hart. And that was a great moment for him. And even the unfortunate, obviously, but I'm not talking about the unfortunate part, obviously, him coming back. But that's another individual that I'm happy that he got in the Hall of Fame and well-deserved, especially for his, for what he's done throughout the business and for the European wrestlers. Also the first ever European champion. So that too, versus Owen Hart. So that was another great match as well. So British Bulldog, my number 4. Number 3 has to be this individual because of what he has done and what he has accomplished in the independent scenes in Europe. And right now, currently in AEW, and that is Pac. Pac has to be, my number 3. Pac, of course, being from Liverpool, he is a diehard Liverpool fan, that's for sure. And, he bleeds Liverpool. So, man, you got to give the man his credit. That's, what he's doing right now, he definitely has the future to be a world champion, which he was in NXT, but hopefully in AEW, you never know. You never know. All right, my number 2, of course, The director said it himself, so I am gonna go with Cesaro, the Swiss man. And it's funny how his story, how he explained he came to the States to not know shit of English, came over here and started beginning learning English, started his career in the independent scenes as Claudio Castagnoli. And oh man, the greatest tag team of all time, the Kings of Wrestling, him and Chris Hero and PWG. That was incredible. Cesaro should have been a world champion by now. Vince McMahon, screw you. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. You want him to get that brass ring. It's a damn shame. I just wish Cesaro, he would have been a world champion right now in New Japan. That's how I feel. I think he could have been. He could have been an IWGP World Heavyweight Champion right now. Yes, he could have. That's a fact. My number one. It's going to shock everybody, my number one, but I'm going to explain why very briefly. This individual opened the doors, you could say, for the European wrestlers and was given notice and was, you could say, one of the first ones traveling around the world in Japan. His career began in Japan. Then he came to the States, of course, made an idol of himself, being one of the biggest men in the history in professional wrestling. And because he is a Frenchman, he is the 8th wonder of the world, and that is Andre the Giant.
I get it.
Yes. He opened the doors for a lot of these European stars. And without him, being around, and then at his younger career in Japan, facing, Antonio Inoki, big Stan, even Hulk Hogan at the time. Man, the guy had a career, even though, yes, short stint in the States with WWF at the time because of, due to injuries and his condition of growth. So it really made it difficult, obviously, to, but people do give him the recognition he deserves.
Big hand.
So Andre the Giant is my number one, and I have to give it to a credit due to the Frenchman. One honorable mention, I will mention, that is, you brought up his name, and that is Sheamus.
The fella.
Another one who, alongside with Wade Barrett too, that's another one who you guys can mention as well. Trained together, and even with Drew McIntyre, and man, they did a lot of incredible stuff in the European scenes, in the independent scenes in Europe, and then made him name for himself. Became, a WWE champion very, very stintly, very quick. If we recall when he came in, ECW, that ECW 2.0, you want to call it at the time, and then very stintly to the main roster, already challenged Cena, defeated Cena for the WWE title, became a champion very quickly. So I commend him, and he, because he has a body, has a size, and the man can work. So, and to this day, so kudos to Sheamus, how Santino will say it. And that's my list. I only have one. I have so many, but
so many more deserve to be on a bigger list, but it's an hour-long show, people. Come on.
That's right. Now let's go to the wheel, see who is the last person to go here. Who's gonna be best for last? Let's find out. Here we go.
Go.
Oh man, the most violent podcasting about podcasting, Money Mike Lopez. The floor is yours.
Yes, man, I gotta give you props on that Andre the Giant one. Honestly, like I've mentioned before in the podcast, that I wish I would have seen Andre the Giant in his prime. I feel that by WrestleMania 3, he was injured and just messed up, according to his documentary. So by the time that happened, we didn't, or the WWF didn't get to see the potential, full potential that he has. So here's my top 5. I'll start off, and you know what? And I say this with every list, it seems, that this is my favorites. So, anybody out there, oh, this and that, no, this is my list. If you want to do your own, that's fine. I'll start off with number 5, and that's Pac, the Bastard. This guy, man, it's like he could do heel, he could do face, and he brings it in the ring. I feel like WWE kind of held him to a certain point and probably were not going to let him go any higher than that. I could be wrong, right? They tried to that was here and there, and I feel like they had the cruiserweight division come up during that time, so they kind of put him there. He was cruiserweight champion and all that, so there was that. But honestly, as we've seen in a lot of classic matches that he's had, that the guy can bring it in the ring for sure. So that's my number 5. Number 4, and honestly, hearing your guys' lists, honestly, I feel like this guy probably should be a little higher, but for now, he's at number 4, and that's Sheamus. Like Ivan was mentioning that, he showed up in ECW for a little bit, and then right off to the main event with John Cena. And it was interesting because he won the title in a tables match because John Cena, fell and the table broke. So, I remember thinking, like, was that supposed to happen? Was he supposed to have gone through that table and they just ended up giving it to Sheamus by default here? Was that supposed to happen? So I guess we'll never really know the answer, but Sheamus did well in that title reign that happened after that. And he beat Daniel Bryan, right? In 18 seconds, was it?
Yes.
So 13, was it 18? Yeah.
Because the AJ Lee was a kiss and then
no.
No. 18 seconds, meaning like it took 18 seconds because she was up there and kids and went down.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, Grant, there you go.
I wasn't debating about the loss.
No, but Sheamus has honestly has had a career that a lot of people would be jealous of. The guy has definitely had a well-deserving long run here in WWE. Number 3, another guy that I feel could be higher on this list is Cesaro, especially the way you guys have mentioned him. And I always remember WrestleMania 30 for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, that he lifted up Big Show like nothing, threw him over the top rope. And like the guy has power, man. And had it been in any other promotion, he would be world champion. If he was in my promotion, I would have put the belt and on that guy for sure. You have a guy like that, you push him to the moon. And he could there you go. And he's a great representative to the European people. I believe he speaks many languages, no? Somewhere like around 7 or
so.
9.
7? Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So yeah, you could have this guy appeal to that giant market, right? So there's that. I believe he speaks Spanish too, so I could be wrong, but I do think so, a little bit maybe.
Muy poquito?
Sí.
Poquito? Sí, kleine. Number 2 is Drew McIntyre. Yes, this guy, talk about someone that puts the company on his shoulders and just runs with it, man. I remember Royal Rumble 2020 when he won it, and I remember thinking there, like, yeah, of course, of course he won. Like, he was the guy, that was his year. Pandemic hit, and he won the title in the main event against Brock Lesnar with nobody there. How crazy is that? Nobody would be able to tell that or foresee that. Yeah, great. Well, not great for him, but honestly, like, he gets to say that. He gets to say that he won that. He's the only person to have that happen. And looking on the bright side, it's something cool to have under your belt, I suppose. Number 1 is William Regal.
He's a man.
Yeah.
He's a man's man.
Not only can he be a tough guy, he could come out in drag. He can sit on top of a throne. He can kiss Vince McMahon's bare ass on live TV. And this guy is one of the most respected wrestlers on the planet. He could still do that. He could do it all. This man can. So yeah, he's definitely a man's man, and he's my number one for sure. As for honorable mentions, I did not prepare any, but I feel that European wrestlers have that reputation of being more technical, at least from what I've seen. So, you know, a lot of great wrestlers, and, you know, like Dynamite Kid and British Bulldog, all of these guys. And I look forward to guys like Walter and, you know, to name a few, right? So definitely the future is bright for Europeans.
Absolutely. Good. Well said, Money Mike. Well said. Bravissimo, bravo. And now we have Mr. 69 himself, Mr. Poolhole. Catalyst, take it away.
I really gotta say, I love all there's a bit of similarity, but at the same time, I got a few sidewinders for you guys. So who wants a sidewinder ball right here? Who's ready to catch? Who's got their
Nice
mid
little Hideo Nomo sidearm. That's a Dodgers joke.
Oh, we caught it.
Yeah, yes.
Right
Signs
there.
it for me.
All right. So I gotta say, before I start, something's about to reach my face.
Oh,
Could it be?
He's
Just
back.
Well, of course I'm back. It's very simple. So number 5 is the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. You just saw him at Wrestle Kingdom, you know, come this close to getting that World Heavyweight Championship. But, you know, he wasn't a by God of pro wrestling. He wasn't a god amongst insects yet, but soon he could be. That's Will Ospreay at number 5. He's definitely, you know, somebody everybody should check out. If you've only, you know, if you're a Stamford stooge, you got to watch multiple promotions if you want to catch Will Ospreay, especially in Rev Pro. And I'm definitely going to mention that promotion quite a bit. And Progress too. Progress in Rev Pro. And coming up at number 4 on this list, Zack Sabre Jr. at number 4. Master of submission. You know, a lot of people would think, oh, I'm too skinny to be a wrestler. I'm not muscular enough. Or, you know, I don't have a 6-pack. Or, you know, some people say I'm too fat or too whatever. Zack Sabre Jr. opens the door for the forbidden door that I opened. The forbidden door I opened. But he opens the door for so many other people, since being a skinnier guy and not just, you know, power moves, he's pure grappling. You know, it's like, I heard you want grappling, a side of grappling with your grappling entree, with some grappling sauce and a grappling drink and a
grappling dessert.
Some grappling dessert, you know. Some grappling, yeah. Catch and maybe a can of catch can right after.
Oh, please.
Can of catch can. So Zack Sabre Jr., all these different moves. And I gotta highly recommend his match at New Japan Noah, Zack Sabre Jr. there. You know, Ogawa, the guy, like Ogawa said, I've taught you everything I know, but I haven't taught you everything I know. So number 3, I don't know if I haven't been paying attention at all, or if I have been paying attention. Because I don't, if you guys mentioned him, he would have, like, this name, it would have really stood out to me, because I know I could feel his aura when he's being talked about. I could almost feel a slap on my chest when he's being mentioned, you know. And if like
Spidey sense.
Yeah. Did any of you guys mention Walter?
I'm literally standing like Imperium. So I knew what you were thinking before you knew what I was thinking. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and you're hearing the, like, I'm feeling the.
I was sitting like this the whole time.
So I gotta say, I always want to recommend matches to everyone. Of course, that See, it's like my voice, with this, it owns part of my voice box, these glasses. No matches I definitely got to recommend to everybody, especially Walter versus Zack Sabre Jr. in Progress and Rev Pro. Same thing with Walter and Will Ospreay. That's definitely stuff you want to watch. The Ring General. And if I was a wrestler, I gotta say, if I was a wrestler, I would have picked the same kind of music as my theme, classical music, because it's public domain. And if you're associated with that, people will know you by that. Bryan Danielson did the same thing, and so did Ric Flair, and Macho Man Randy Savage. All those songs, any wrestler could use them because nobody could own the rights to Pomp and Circumstance or Zarathustra, and then
I forget what it's called. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's some classical piece. I mean, I wonder why a wrestler hasn't picked Beethoven's
Fifth. I'm sure I'm sure someone has. I can't think of anybody.
Or Mozart, like any of the big pieces everybody knows.
In your idea, I would have picked Beethoven's Seventh.
Yeah.
Movement number 2. If you haven't checked that out, I recommend it.
So many different. Beethoven's pretty intense, like, or was that that's the Battle of Borodino.
I think so. See.
Yeah. So number 2. So a lot of you guys picked them, but I've got a certain match I want to reference to. So of course, Lord Steven Regal, William Regal.
These are man.
Yeah, but here's a match I really definitely want to mention to everybody. And a lot of people talk about it. They say this is his match versus Goldberg. Everybody says it was Goldberg's most technically proficient match because the way William Regal carried.
Is that the one where he was not selling and he was potato sacking him?
I'm not sure. It might have.
I think Regal was supposed to take like a quick job, and he actually like took it to Goldberg. And I think that's the match where like he didn't just lay down for him.
There's a lot of grappling in that match too, from what I know.
Yeah, that's the one where Goldberg didn't know how to improv or take catch wrestling. Like he didn't know how to because Goldberg came in, did the Yakuza kick, the spear, the jackhammer, and that was it.
If you want to know world of sports style wrestling, William Regal is your guy. That's that he's like the restaurant that serves that sandwich from another country that you want to eat. He's the only that's the place in WWE that serves it. And sadly, they closed that stand down, but it's opening it up at a A&W restaurant near you. So my number 1. I wish I could turn off the lights like Mike. For Prince Devitt, the founder of Bullet Club, Fergal, Finn Balor. I wish even the Demon, the original Rock and Rolla. And remember, Jay White's referencing him. Jay White calls himself the last Rock and Rolla. So this could go somewhere. If Finn Balor gets free, how much did he sign for recently, Ivan? Is he there for another how long?
I have no idea how long this time he's there for. But I was just noticing Chris's red lights because he was trying to do the Finn Balor.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Not to sound like I'm obsessed with his body, but I'm thinking when Finn Balor's in his 70s. When Finn Balor's in his 70s, it won't matter because he's going to look exactly the same. There's no way you could something like that could ever. My God, like
I have a joke that I've told previously. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but Finn Balor has what I call worst voice, best body syndrome.
Yes, he's
hard to listen to, but he's all right to look at.
You don't like his Irish accent? No.
It's not that it's an Irish accent. It is so Brad Pitt in Snatch.
But it's the real.
It is the real version. It is very thick, and it's just. It is what it is, man. But yeah, he boy looks good. He's a looker for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna. That's way like if even when he's in his 80s, everybody's like, "Oh, he's gonna be too old to go to AEW by the time his contract runs out." I don't think it's gonna matter because he's gonna he's gonna be a piece of steel when he's 90. You know, so by the time he heads over there, it's gonna be another deal. My honorable mention, I just think of it as an extension. So I want to just go right into it. Honorable mention, Pac. And that's another body that's a piece of steel. Jesus.
Yeah, goddamn.
These junior heavyweights that are iron pieces of steel. We talk about Pac in AEW and his time as Neville in the Red Arrow and NXT, but we cannot not mention his time in Dragon Gate, because in Dragon Gate he's had a lot of classic matches with just recently the former world heavyweight champion of New Japan, IWGP heavyweight champion Shingo. He had a lot of great matches with Shingo. He had a lot of great matches with Ricochet. Pac was like the face of Dragon Gate. He was the champion of Dragon Gate around the time of the first Double or Nothing. He's like Dragon Gate. If you want to watch Dragon Gate, Pac's your gateway drug there. Watch him there. He's a monster in Dragon Gate. Him versus Shima. Pac versus Shingo versus Shima, Shingo versus Ricochet. Those any mix up of those four, and then you could get Naruki Doi in the mix. He's currently like one of the mainstays of Dragon Gate, and then you'll get to know a lot of other guys. There's this like one dude in Dragon Gate who's got like black lipstick and a white face and short hair, and I'm trying to find out who it is right now because like I'm trying to research like more of their roster. They have a lot of ass kickers. I mean, other than the one it's named after, Ultimo Dragon himself.
Is it an American or European or
Japanese?
Okay, I was thinking it was like what's that kid that I like from Ring of Honor, Nick Housen? It wasn't him.
Danhausen?
Danhausen.
No, this is a new this was like Dragon Gate from like the early 2000s. And
okay, I got you.
He had those like baggy 90s pants, and he's doing all kinds of crazy moves. So I'm also going to mention Cesaro as well in my
Buddha? No, I'm kidding.
So I'm gonna mention Cesaro as well because it's really cool. Switzerland's actually in my favorite countries. I think sometimes it's either my number 2 or my number 3. It bounces around from that spot on my favorite countries. Cesaro's region in Switzerland is the Luzerne region, where they speak, of course, the Deutschen. Of course, they speak. It's a German-speaking region of Switzerland, and I'll hold up. I may not. I think other than my wallet that used to have a Swiss flag on it, I'll hold up something I bought from Switzerland, and it's Luzerne's not too far from where I bought this. This is my Hufschmidt guitar pick that I think it either came from somewhere near Lake Geneva. It's probably so. Yeah, it's a guitar pick. So that came from. I love a lot of things coming from Switzerland, and I love the sharpshooter. And Cesaro brings a little bit of that all to it, and I love fondue. So the list goes on, and I think I need to go back and watch some Chikara and watch some more old Ring of Honor when he was, Claudio, his days in Ring of Honor. I got to go back and watch that. Dynamite Kid and British Bulldog, they're really together to me. The British Bulldogs as a tag team. I think the way I discovered them was through the Legends of Wrestling video game. And for each of them, they played 2 traditional British patriotic songs. Of course, Hail Britannia is the British Bulldogs theme song. And you can't copyright that because that's a national patriotic song of England. And then the Dynamite Kids, he didn't use it in every promotion he was in. But this was in the Legends of Wrestling game, and he used it a few times, and it's the March of the Grenadiers. Dun, 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 dun. So that's they usually play that when the British are marching to fight the Americans. When you see them, it's like the British are coming, and they play that song, and it's about like the red coats and throwing grenades. And and so it was like the British invasion when they came in as the British Bulldogs, and sometimes they would use that song too, so like shout out to all Europeans. I'm pretty sure there's definitely a lot I'm forgetting, probably, so I might remember later on. It's like, oh my god, I forgot to mention.
Yeah,
I want to pull an audible real quick and give mad respect, and we can all maybe name a list, and I'm going to take advantage of being first on the list, but we overlooked, and I'm not apologizing in the interest of being woke or politically correct, but in the interest of what's right. But we did overlook female wrestlers from Europe.
Yeah, no, we did. I was going to mention that. I read your mind. So
yeah. And I'm not doing this because like, I don't want to get canceled because I didn't talk about women. It's just I came up with my list, and that was my list. Yeah. But obviously, we probably would all agree Becky Lynch deserves to be on this list.
I would agree.
I agree.
For the women's movement, obviously, we all know the hours she put in. Basically, she was the other half to Prince Devitt, being brought up through the dojo in Japan by him. I mean, as young as like Irish 14. Yeah. So Becky Lynch would be my pick. I'm going to let Ivan, you get one.
A European, I would say, will be B. Presley. And that's Davenport from NXT.
Yeah.
Priestley, I'm sorry. Yeah, Big Priestley. Yeah, I mean,
working stardom.
Working stardom. She made a name of herself in stardom throughout the years. Is dating Will Ospreay. I mean, she learned from Will Ospreay as well.
Ivan, it does count, but I wouldn't say it doesn't count, but she kind of has like she's sort of from New Zealand, but at the same time, she lives in she goes to United Kingdom. I don't know if she's originally.
I think she lives now. I don't know why. I thought she was originally from the United Kingdom, but I guess
I forgot if she was from New Zealand originally. It's kind of like it's kind of the thing with like AC/DC, because like what was it? Brian Johnson's is from Newcastle, England, but AC/DC is from Australia. So
yeah, those are a lot of people kind of expat between the two countries for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the case. I mean, it's hard. I mean, what about Jamie Hayter? I know she's
British.
She's British. I would say Jamie Hayter.
Nikki Cross.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I was thinking of adding Paige, but I haven't watched enough of her, to be honest.
Paige is definitely, like, I would say probably more iconic than Becky Lynch because she blasted the Divas door open. She was the one that threw.
She's the only one with a movie made about her life.
That's true. She was right.
The one she threw the Divas title down and made it the women's title. That was her move. She came in on Raw on a debut and won that title in like 12 seconds. And no one, I go back, I watched that highlight reel. I still cry a little bit. It's an amazing moment in just wrestling history, not just women's history, that she came out of nowhere and won that belt as fast as she did.
Defeating AJ Lee
in her debut, her main roster debut, in like 12 seconds in a small package or something like that. So, yeah,
I will
very
say,
emotional career.
I will say about wrestlers, not just European but outside of the United States, and I haven't had to work outside of my country, but I know that there's legal things or like a checklist of things that you have to do to apply for a visa and to just get into the country and to work and all that stuff that goes along with it. And even for those that maybe are let go, like for example from WWE, and have to go ahead and look for another way to get back in and work and all that stuff. So just that process and the hard work that it takes to get that organized is definitely I give kudos to anybody that comes from somewhere else and it makes the effort to stay here.
Agreed.
It's even harder because you're listed as an independent contractor. So for a visa, you can get a work visa, which means if you can prove work and stability, you have a route to get in. But as an independent contractor, you have to find the work as it comes to you, as opposed to a guarantee.
Yeah,
there's work waiting for you. So yeah, it's definitely not easy to do.
Absolutely, it's not. So I agree. I mean, and kudos to everyone, for all of them from coming from around the world to come here to work in the States. And I commend all of you guys. And we're watching as well upcoming stars from the independent circuit as well, whether it's watching or listening. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in here for our top 5, picks of the week for the first one for 2022. Next week's top 5 will be top 5 surprise Rumble entrants. We did moments, but now it's time about surprise entrances and the upcoming Royal Rumble. So I'm looking forward to speaking about that. And also, do not forget this week coming up, ladies and gentlemen, tune into our weekly shows. And coming up this week as well, the MMA episode 13, because you have UFC 270 coming up here in Anaheim, California, and we're excited for that. And but tune in for that during this week. And don't forget much more. And don't forget at the end of the video, hit that subscribe button right below, the notification button, hit the ring, ding, ding, to get all your notifications here on COD, which are all audio platform listeners. Thank you so much for listening as well. And of course, we'll let Mr. Callis end it here for the COD. What do we do on the Circle of Debate?
We don't make podcasts unlike you, Stanford Stooges. We make history.